Kissing Tulips, Part 9. The clock on the wall chimed the hour of 11, and only then did I feel safe enough to don the same travelling cloak I had the previous evening and leave my room. The latch on our door was tricky, and I had to be careful not to make any racket as I closed it and made for the stairs. As I reached for the knob to the front door, I felt the presence of someone watching me, and a second later felt a hand lay itself across my back, and I turned sharply, managing not to scream in the process. Martha is standing behind me, holding a candle close to her face and looking at me with a worried expression. "I didn't mean to startle you, miss," she whispers, "but I saw you leave your room, and I knew something must be wrong." Her eyes roam over my clothes quickly, and I see her expression change from concern to outright consternation. "Miss Lydia," she begins again, more slowly this time. "Why are you dressed like that?" "I'm going out, Martha," I reply, seeing no reason to lie to her, but knowing that I need to leave as quickly as possible. Martha's expression changes again, and this time there is real panic in her face. She reaches out and takes hold of my wrist, not hard, but firmly enough that I know she will fight to keep me here if she has to. "Miss Lydia," she says again, "I can't let you do that. What if the missus wakes up and finds you gone? It isn't safe for a lady like yourself to go out on the streets at night and all alone. What if something happens to you? I don't think your parents could stand it if nothing is going to happen to me, Martha," I interject, but my stomach has clenched in a tight knot as I remember the last time I visited Marianne's grave. The fact that I had survived that encounter at all had been a godsend. Who knew what would happen tonight? I brushed the thought aside. No good could come from that line of thinking. "There is just somewhere I need to be," I continue. "Something I can't explain to you. At least, not right now." Martha drops her head, but does not let go of my wrist. "I know the loss of your sister has been hard on you, miss, but you mustn't do this sort of thing. Sneaking out at night to go to the pub or wherever it is you're off to. I know I said I shouldn't be the kind of person to tell you how to grieve, but I won't let you become a drunkard. My father became one of them after me mum died. It changed him, miss. The drink, it changed him, and I won't see that kind of thing happen to you." She looks up at me again, defiant, and I feel my heart swell with affection for this person who is not my sister, but clearly cares for me as much as if I were her own flesh and blood. I lay one gloved hand over the top of the one that is clasping my wrist and give it a very small squeeze. "I'm not off to the pub, Martha," I say in what I hope is a comforting tone. "And while my destination does involve Marianne, I can promise you that it doesn't involve me getting lost in a bottle of spirits." Some of the fire seems to cool in Martha's eyes, although she doesn't look completely convinced. "Then, where is it you're going to?" A sigh breaks from me before I have a chance to stop it. "To the graveyard." Martha's hand tightens on my wrist, and I wince a little. You mean to Miss Marianne's? Oh, miss, you mustn't go there," she says, alarm having returned to her voice, but something else as well. Something akin to primal fear has clearly laid its cold fingers against Martha's skin, and she begins to tremble ever so slightly. Why mustn't I? I can't help but to ask, wishing she would let go of me, as now her grip is so hard as to become unbearable. There are evil things in that place. Oh, I know I mustn't say, what with it being God's earth and all, but miss... Her voice trails off, and in the descending silence, I manage to maneuver my wrist to such an angle that some of the pressure is alleviated. What do you know about the graveyard, Martha? I demand. Please, speak plainly. I promise I won't scold you. She hesitates for a moment, but the force of her fear seems to vastly outweigh her need for etiquette. Sometimes I hear Cook and Mr. Cornwall talking about it downstairs. They say that there's an evil that stalks the grounds there at night, a kind of creature that waits for those who have been newly buried. It can take the form of mist and slips into the graves and... She shudders and seems reluctant to continue. Go on, Martha, I prompt. And sucks the blood from their bodies, she finishes, looking very much like she wants to be sick, and suddenly the crucifix under my collar becomes hot. My mouth goes dry. I see, I reply, knowing that I need to leave now, despite Martha's frightening admission. Please, miss, Martha says in a desperate whisper. Please don't go there tonight, Miss Lydia. I have to, Martha. No, I won't let you do it. You must, I reply, feeling more desperate by the second. But why? Martha pleads, and I can see the beginnings of tears forming in her wide brown eyes. Feeling drained and unable to speak any further, I reach with my free hand down under my cloak to my collar and pull out the crucifix on its string of beads. The touch of it against my gloved hand feels like handling a very hot coal. Martha's hand drops from my wrist when she sees it, her mouth going a little slack and her eyes radiating some comprehension I have no explanation for. She takes a step away from me, the candle flame wavering a little on its wick as she does so. I'll say a prayer for you tonight then, miss, she says, and without another word, turns on her heel and glides away from me back to the servants' quarters. I stand there for a few more seconds, not really understanding what has just transpired, but shake myself free of the feeling before turning back to the door and wrenching it open and stepping out into the cool, foggy night.